time to play. Let's rewind to yesterday. The fun begins, we're here to stay. Ready, set, replay.
Welcome back to another episode of Ready, Set, Recap, where we recap what's been going on. I'm Daniel, joined as always by my best friend Skyler.
Hello.
This week, Conan announced that he's coming back to the Oscars next year. Xbox is doing some more TV shows. Oblivion Remake rumors are swirling again. And we're going to talk about our favorite movies of all time. But Skyler, before we get into all that, what's been going on with you?
I saw another movie this week. I saw Novocain.
I am on Novocain currently.
Well, really?
No.
Oh. I don't know. I don't know how you got your podcast recording rituals.
I'm not on painkillers. I'm not an addict. But I have been having some, congestion. So I am on one of those, nighttime don't sneeze yourself to death pills. And it's set non-drowsy, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We're definitely not gonna.
Am I snoozing? Maybe.
It's gonna be a short episode. Yeah, no, I saw Novocain starring Jack Quaid and other people, and it was fun. It was a fun, stupid, but it knows it's stupid, gross out action movie, and I enjoyed it.
No, I'm seeing on the handout that you threw through my window on a brick that the CEO of Sex is in this movie.
Oh, Ned?
Yeah, how he doing? He good on
Jacob,
this?
what's his name? Jacob.
I don't know. For some reason, the last name I want to say is Wysocki, and I don't know what that's from.
No, Jacob Batalon. See, I used to know his name, but then the game Balatro came out, and I was like,
"Did you play Balatro?"
No, don't worry about that. We'll get to it in 7 years on our show.
Oh no.
But no, Jacob Batalon. Yeah, he's in the movie.
Is he good at
That's it.
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
I've seen him in a handful of things, and he's always the same. So
Yeah, I
if you
guess that
liked
makes
him in
sense.
Spider-Man, you'll like him here because he's the same.
Well, I do kind of like him in Spider-Man. I wouldn't necessarily say he's one of my favorite parts of those movies, but he's funny. I enjoy him.
And you know what? The same can be said, honestly, about Jack Quaid. He seems to be typecast into a very Jack Quaid role, I guess. I don't know if you've seen him on The Boys or if you've seen him in the movie
Scream.
that came out earlier this year, Scream, Companion. He's bumbling, nerdy, charmy. It's fine. No, I like Jack Quaid though. I think he's found his niche in playing the same thing in every movie, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
This movie's the word I would use is fun.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a good time with it. I unfortunately didn't do a ton this week other than things for this channel that we'll talk about when it is the time specifically for those things. So
Yes.
instead, what I'm going to talk about is a comic book that I sort of got caught back up on recently. Have you heard about these Absolute comics that have been coming out?
Absolute Comics.
Yeah,
No.
so Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't remember that's what they were called because I do not keep up on comics nowadays, but now I know where this is going. Fill me in.
Yeah, so I also don't really super keep up on comics, but these ones have sort of broken into the realm of pop culture that I am able to see things on. Every so often I'll go to a comic store and I'll see oh, there's 4,000 comics right now, and I don't even know who some of these characters are. And it'll be
Sure.
the cover of some major Marvel crossover event comic, and I'm I don't know who half these dudes are. But the Absolute comics, and I'm going to specifically, I think, talk about Absolute Batman because that's the one I've been enjoying the most so far.
Yeah.
It's so you know the story of these superheroes, but this is in a version of the universe where I don't know exactly. They don't talk about it in Absolute Comics, but I think the setup to it is Darkseid was messing around and created new universes where it was we're going to take something fundamental away from the heroes and see if they are still the people that they are. And
Okay.
so for Superman, he doesn't crash to Earth as a child, he comes to Earth as an adult. And so he has all this memory of what Krypton is, and they kind of take away his, for lack of a better word, humanity. That's not exactly how it works out because he's still very kind and generous and all the
But
things that we
his-
would associate with that.
Human upbringing,
Yeah.
at the very least.
So they take that away from him, and then Wonder Woman, instead of being raised in this in Themyscira. She's raised by Cersei in Hell, which is interesting. And then for Batman, it's instead of being a hugely rich socialite, he's an engineer of some kind. Like he works on construction, and he's just like a run of the mill kind of guy. Like his Batmobile is a not a pickup truck, a dump truck.
Oh, okay.
Just like a huge armored dump truck that's like the size of a building.
Blue collar Batman.
Yeah, blue collar Batman basically. It's really, really good. The costume, he is so thick and so beefy. His logo on his chest pops off and becomes the blade of an axe, which sounds insane, but hey, it's cool in practice. He still doesn't kill. I realize him having an axe would like imply that he murders people. He doesn't.
No, it's the farm wood.
And one of the other things I really love about it is that the main villain at the beginning is Black Mask, who is my favorite like B tier Batman villain, who doesn't really get a lot of play. And this is one of the only things that I've seen him in where he is done well and like feels cool. So I've been really happy with it. I think it's very good, and I would recommend it to anybody who wants to read comics. It hasn't been collected in like trades yet, I don't think, like trade paperbacks. So it is just individual comics, but you can like read it online and wait for the trade. Or if you're nasty, you can buy the individual comics. I can't do that anymore though, because my stack got too big and I didn't want to keep individual issues. So I'm a trade boy now.
Or you can buy things digitally and then have them be deleted by the company that published them.
True.
Later.
Yeah, always a fun option.
What's been going on this week is what I was going to ask.
What's been going on this week? Yeah, so the first one is one that you actually dropped into our news chat here, which is that Conan said he's going to come back for the Oscars next year, which is really exciting because I think he was great.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not a whole lot to like really chew on with this one, but it's just like
it's
cool.
It's just
I'm
hey, good to
happy for
hear.
him.
I guess I'll be watching again next year.
Do you want to place bets on like what movie he does a bunch of jokes about? Because my bet right now would be on Superman. I believe
possibly.
We will see Conan dressed as Superman.
I think it would be very up Conan's alley to repeat the sandworm from Dune bit next year when it's not even relevant.
Guys, I'm telling you, we spent so much money on this tube sock.
Because like, it's a joke that kind of got a laugh. It really only gets a laugh of how stupid it is, and like that is the bit. And so to do it again, be like, we still have it. Just do it again next year. There's not even a Dune movie, I don't believe. I think that would be. I would stand up and cheer in my living room.
Yes, he did it. He did the thing. Maybe we'll make a bingo card when we get closer to next year's Oscars and see who can get the most right about it. The only other thing we have about this is that he said the reason that he wanted to do it again was so that he could hear the end of Adrian Brody's speech.
It's a good point.
It's a good joke. It's a good bit. Happy for him.
Yeah. We talked about it last week or whenever it was. Obviously, he killed it. Did very well. It was very entertaining. So yeah, it seems a no-brainer to bring him back at least another year.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I don't even know who you would replace him with at the moment. Probably nobody is good.
I mean, if you look at like past Oscar hosts, yeah, they do late night people like Jimmy Kimmel, who I was never a fan of him hosting. But then also just like grab whoever. This person's mildly funny, we think, or I don't know. This person has stage presence. Just throw him up there. And there's been successes and failures. In my opinion, which is not the opinion of most people watching the Oscars, probably, that the hosting and the presentation is the worst part because it chews up all the time and whatever. But they're doing a big show; they have to get the viewership. It makes sense. You gotta do it. So if you get the least annoying person you can in Conan, then I'll take it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what the viewership numbers on this year's Oscars were because this was genuinely a really good one. So I wonder if people like went back and watched it after the fact when like word of mouth went around.
Yeah, in theory, that's something we could have looked up or could look up now, but
No.
I'm not going to. So
If you're interested, audience, look it up yourself.
yeah, Google it.
Google it, nerd. Google's free. In other news, Phil Spencer of Xbox fame did an interview with, I believe it was Variety, where they asked him about the success of his, well, not his, I guess, but of TV shows and movies made from the IPs in the Xbox catalog, and he was like, "Yeah, we're definitely doing more of those." He didn't
Okay.
specify which ones, so that'll be
Trying
interesting
to
to see.
trying
But
to think what like Xbox specific titles that became movies and shows that were actually now the word successful is tricky.
right,
So obviously there's Halo, which got 2 seasons, and apparently season 2 was better. Though I don't know that because I refused to watch it.
it really was not as bad as people said, but that still left a lot of room for it to be pretty bad.
Uh,
I would say it was just like unfortunately mediocre. The
right.
reasons that people gave for why it was bad were usually in bad faith, when in reality the reason it was bad is just because like they didn't really do anything, and they focused on this one character who
Sure.
was the reason why we weren't doing anything. So,
Right.
but then season two
Um,
did a lot less of that, so it was okay.
let me see. Okay, so Minecraft is coming out. There's that, I guess. Although
True.
I
You're
don't
kind of
think
forgetting the big
people.
one, or going past the big one here.
What? What is it? What is it?
Fallout.
Oh yeah, that's Microsoft now, of course. Yeah. Okay. Boom. That's a success. I really liked that show.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
All
yeah.
right, you get one, Phil Spencer.
They had the Fallout show. It won like a ton of awards, and he was specifically like, yeah, we learned a lot from our recent things. And he was like, we learned a lot from Halo. We were really happy with the success of Fallout. Obviously, Fallout getting another season, although it got delayed a little bit for a combination of wildfires and because they switched locations for where they're filming it. So both of those
Not
reasons, it got
not
delayed a
to
little
sound
bit.
insensitive,
Yeah.
because the LA fire is really bad, but hey, take advantage of the burnt up area. You're in a post-apocalyptic. That's a
Yeah.
bad joke. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I guess so. I think it was more to the point of like the fires are going actively currently right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. They were
So
kind of raging for a minute there.
they're still going a little bit in places. So I don't know. Good luck to them. They also had some success like way back with the Viva Pinata cartoon. That thing went on for a while and like for some reason did
Right.
pretty decently. So I don't know. They've seen some success with it in the past. I'm curious to see like what else they would do going forward. We've heard rumors of like a Gears of War thing for 1,000 years. I think
Sure.
South of Midnight looks like it could be a really good like TV show if they want to do something with that. But it's like also very new and untested, so who knows? I don't know. But it does seem like in
I
media right now, the like well that we're going to is video game adaptations, and Xbox, especially with their recent acquisitions, has a ton of places where you could go to make things. So
Yeah, I would say that a Gears of War show is not a bad bet
yeah,
because we're in theory getting Gears of War 6 soon, right?
well, it's not six, but we're getting E Day,
Right.
which is
Okay.
like a prequel to the first one, and I think that's supposed to be coming out next year.
Weren't they talking
So,
about a 6 though?
well, I'm sure they're talking about it, but the one that's announced is
Yeah.
E Day.
Well, so yeah, the point is more Gears of War games will be coming out eventually to soon, and it's an IP that people like. It's got a good aesthetic that I think you can gel with.
Hmm.
They learned from Fallout that we can do gore and gamers love it.
True.
So we can chainsaw some bugmen. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could also see, unironically, like a Call of Duty TV show doing pretty well. I think if you threw like Ghost and Captain Price into something, I think that would do pretty well on like an Amazon or something.
Yeah, I think. How would you make that other than
It's just a war
just like
movie.
a just like a Jack Ryan?
Jack Ryan, Jack Reacher, one of those ones. But those
Yeah,
shows do really well, despite the fact that I think in
yeah.
reality they're not that great.
They're dad shows
Yeah,
for sure.
Dad's got to
Well, no,
watch
I
something.
think I think people really like Reacher. I haven't watched Reacher. People really like that one. Jack Ryan, I think, has more mixed stuff on it, but again, it's a dad show, so the dads watch it.
Is Jack Ryan the Jim from The Office one? Because
Yeah,
because
Jack.
Reacher is the Aquaman from Smallville one.
Oh yes, these
Yeah,
people have names, but that's what we're gonna call them for now.
Alan something for
Alan
Reacher.
Richardson,
Yeah,
and who might still be a favorite to play James Gunn's Batman,
he's up
maybe?
there. He's up there.
Question mark.
Honestly, they should just make
Uh,
him Aquaman again.
he's too beefy to be Aquaman.
Aquaman
Aquaman's
got
got to
beef.
be Aquaman. We're getting away from beefy Aquaman. We got to go more slender, hairless.
Slenderman. Uh,
Anyways,
yes.
TV shows and movies might be happening. We love to hear it.
Yeah. Is there like one specific Xbox thing that you think you would want to see a show of?
Well, as stated before, I would definitely watch a Gears thing,
Yeah.
a, a Banjo Kazooie cartoon.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be something. They'd need to put a game out of Banjo-Kazooie to make that
No,
relevant
they don't
again.
gotta do anything.
Um,
Uh,
I think I think a StarCraft like miniseries would do really well, especially internationally,
okay,
because that
yeah,
game series is huge in like Japan and Korea.
of
So I think
course,
if you just all you have to announce is who you cast for Kerrigan, and people are down.
right.
I think that's like a surefire win for sure, for sure. I would
All
love to
right,
see it too. But
do it.
in other news, we've been hearing some rumblings of this Oblivion remake that's been circling for a while. Now, if you remember, this first came up during the trial that Microsoft was having when they were acquiring Activision Blizzard. A lot of their
Mhm.
documents became public knowledge or whatever during that, and as one of those things, we saw sort of a timeline of games that they wanted coming out, and they were all delayed because COVID had happened and a lot of things had happened in between. But one of the last things on that list that we're still waiting to see is this Oblivion remake, and we're finally starting to get some news from it. There's a notable leaker who it was saying that we might see it like this week or next week, and it might be released as early as sometime next month. That
Mhm.
leaker, I won't say his name because he's one of those guys where like he throws 4 million predictions out, and then
Yeah, and
every so
something's got to be
often,
right.
yeah, every so often one or two of them will end up being right, and people go like, "Oh my god, this guy's like so smart. He knows things. He's clearly a real insider." But then you watch his podcast, and it's just like him saying nonsense for 4 hours. After he leaked these things, it looks like there is some smoke to this because a lot of like actual publications with actual journalists have been corroborating it, well, corroborating its existence, not so much its release time period, but have been adding their own information on top of it. And that's where sort of the more interesting things in this story, I think, are coming right now, which
Right.
sort of circles around the fact that I think we had talked about it before. I don't remember if it was on camera or off, but we were talking about like, is it a remaster? Is it a full remake? It looks like it's a full remake, like pretty much ground up. It's
Sure.
being worked on by a studio called Virtuous, who has done a lot of remakes lately. They're currently working on that Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remake. That's them. They've done
Mhm.
some other things, and they've helped with like porting a bunch of other things. But they are seemingly a remake remaster studio. The
Okay.
going theory is that it's still going to be running on the Creation Engine, but that all of the visuals will be rendered using Unreal Engine 5. So it'll still have all the like physics interactions and everything that the Creation Engine does, and they'll be able to make use of the visual fidelity that Unreal Engine can do. Hopefully, we'll have to see how that works out because Unreal Engine typically is really bad at open worlds, like it's very stuttery.
Yeah.
But if it's not doing the math and it's just rendering things, it might be better for it. Because Creation Engine, for all of its faults, is really powerful at like open worlds and having a million things going at one time.
Sure.
So this might be a really good combination, or it might be kind of nothing. So we'll
How would you
see.
say people are feeling about the overall idea of this one getting a remake? Because I think Oblivion is still beloved by the people who played it around, the first go around. It kind of I compare it to when Resident Evil 4 got a remake, for a latest ground up remake where I was like, I don't know, I love Resident Evil 4. Does it need a remake? But then the remake was good
Hmm.
and, had slight gameplay differences and it was warranted in its existence. Do you think people are like, hell yeah, let's just do another one? Or are people like, don't remake that one? I still play that one. Give me a different thing. Why didn't you make, something else?
No, so I think from what I've been seeing, at least, this seems to be generally being met with like, "Oh, cool, yeah, I definitely want that."
Okay, cool.
Like that seems to be the way that people are generally leaning on it. There's a certain amount of it where 'cause this game is old enough that I think it warrants a remake.
Yeah,
Unlike
it
some
definitely
other recent
has.
remakes that we've been getting where they're like 5 years old. Like this one's old, old.
Sure.
This was,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess, for people who are listening who don't know what Oblivion is, we should probably say at some point. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is a big fantasy RPG from Bethesda, the same people who do Fallout, like the TV show. And it's basically just Fallout, but if it was in sort of a fairly typical fantasy setting. There's elves, there's kind of dwarfs, not really, but it's like that sort of like Tolkien adjacent fantasy universe.
You know what Skyrim is? This is
Yeah.
before Skyrim.
Yeah, this is the one that came before Skyrim. The only thing I can say is Oblivion is still playable, and so like maybe
Yeah,
I would have, if it was up to me, I might have been like, let's redo Morrowind instead of Oblivion, because I think Morrowind is
absolutely.
like Morrowind is unplayable currently, but at the
Well,
same time, Oblivion is the bigger name one. Like Oblivion is the one that
yeah,
people want to play again. Morrowind doesn't have that.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
And I also think this is a really good idea because we know that the next game coming out of Bethesda proper is Elder Scrolls 6 after
Hmm.
400 years.
Get people
And
back in
so,
the world a little bit.
yeah, so I think this will get people re-excited for that universe, and I think it also will allow them to basically like get some assets done by an outside party, you know? Because if they're
Okay.
like, "Oh, well the Virtuous people made an Unreal Engine 5 version of the Sweet Roll or whatever. We
Oh,
can just
I
use
was
that. We
gonna
don't have
say
to
the
do it
sweet
again."
roll.
Yeah.
I was Daniel.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the sweet
I knew
roll.
you were. I read it in your brain. I saw it. I saw it happen. It flashed across your eyes like when a cartoon person, like when it does the slot machine thing. I saw that. I saw
Absolutely.
3 sweet rolls. But yeah, it's. I think this is really exciting. We also know that on that same court document where this was sort of leaked, there was also a Fallout 3 remake. And so if this turns out to be real, which everyone seems to be fairly confident it is, then
Mhm.
that Fallout 3 one would theoretically be done in the same way because they were listed not as like separate line items, but as like a collection basically, where it's like these are
Yeah,
being worked on by the same people. So theoretically, the Fallout 3 would also be being worked on by Virtuous, and so like it would, if this turns out to be good, that would also turn out to be good. And everything that
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
hearing about this one sounds positive, where it's like it's still going to be creation, so it's still going to be the game you love, but we're using some other stuff to like make it more pretty and make it look a little bit more modern. They
Hundred
also
percent.
said that they're going to like modernize some of this the what would you call it, the like features or whatever of it, and specifically the people named like stamina and stealth and blocking and archery, like a couple of things like that.
Yeah,
They're like these feel really clunky, so we're going to modernize those a little bit.
yeah. There's definite
So
quality of life things that could be fixed and cleaned up from Oblivion and Fallout 3 if that happens. It's just the only thing I can think of is, and this really only affects, the OG Oblivion heads, I guess, where a lot of the jank is what is kind of beloved. You know what I mean? Like all the silly NPC nonsense,
yeah,
people going to sleep in the middle of the street or whatever, that kind of activity. I think will that if you get rid of the jank, does the magic die? And I don't think the answer is yes, but I think for some people they're gonna be like, oh,
I love Oblivion.
yeah,
It's not like my go-to Elder Scrolls. I'm still very much a Skyrim guy, and I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's kind of you as well. I remember you played Oblivion, but you're definitely more of a Skyrim guy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, I think it was just, and this is not true for everyone, of course, but for me, it's just like you play an older game and then you think about like a newer game did some of this better, then you're just like, well, I could just play the newer one. And I do think Skyrim hit a lot of that for me, anyways.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. The biggest like jank thing I remember, because I haven't played Oblivion in a while, I would actually be
Mm.
really welcoming of this because the rumor
Yeah.
is that it would come out this year. Um,
Ooh.
so I'd be really welcoming of this because the only thing I really remember about like my specific playthrough, obviously I remember like some of the plot stuff, was I was playing as an Argonian and I became a vampire. And in Oblivion, if you're a vampire, you can't go out in the sun and you start taking fire damage. But if you're underwater, you can. And because I was an Argonian, I could breathe underwater.
Yeah,
So I ended up just swimming everywhere, like up
yeah.
rivers and across the ocean and stuff. And that was a really fun, like, I kind of accidentally broke this game a little bit.
You became like a crocodile killer.
Basically, yeah. I would like pop out of the water and kill things and then go back in. It was pretty fun. It was a good time. Really liked it. And speaking of things we really like, I believe it's time to move into the topic of the show, Skyler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there wasn't a ton of like big things that happened this week, and so we're taking the opportunity to do another one of our favorite things lists. So it'll be our top 5 things from each of us, and this week we're doing our 5 favorite movies. This is not necessarily like the best 5 movies we've ever seen, but it's our 5 favorite movies, whatever that means to us. We have not discussed our list beforehand, so I guess we'll see what happens here. Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go second. Also, I want to just say our lists are going to be broken because
Very, yeah,
beforehand, the only thing we said was like, I mean, I'm picking five movies, but there's there's a lot, obviously. I mean, I
yeah,
movies are kind of my life.
true.
I've seen a handful. So I picked five movies that I really, really love based on particular criteria, but by
Mhm.
no means like I don't have a favorite. It's not possible for me to say. So
I think that's probably by and large true for me as well. But that being said, there were like three that ended up on this list immediately, and then a lot of
Mhm.
other ones where it was like, but what? Who's gonna go in these last two slots? So like, there's three that I
Yeah.
feel super confident would be on this list no matter what, and then another two
Yeah,
that I
yeah, yeah.
feel like would cycle. So my number five, and I do kind of have these ranked, but not. I don't know. Like again, it's one of those things where like if I made this list again next month, it might be completely different in a different order.
Yeah, 100%.
But I do have these ranked. So my number five is one that I don't actually think is a good movie like at all, but I love and talk about a lot. Um, and
I
that
know what it
is,
is.
yeah, it
I
is,
I know
it
what it
is
is.
Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
I knew it.
I love this movie so much. It's goofy and stupid in a way that like really captured my imagination as a kid. It is a God, what would you call it? Like a pulp noir, like
Yeah.
aviation movie. The main character, Jude Law, is a like a prop plane pilot in a sort of like World War II era world, but also the world is largely in black and white, and there's a lot of like crazy things going on. Like there's these giant robots that attack a city, and then like there's weird scientific things going on, and like there's a poison. Like it's crazy. I honestly don't really want to spoil too much of it because I genuinely think that most people probably haven't seen this movie because it is extremely niche and like not a movie that I think people really care about. But there are so many things in this movie that just like spark imagination and make me really excited as a kid to like want to see more stories that were similar to this. And the only one I can think of that's even remotely similar is like The Rocketeer, and I still haven't seen The Rocketeer, which is, I mean, that movie's probably really good. I've heard it's really good.
Let me tell
Um,
you,
but this
I
is
love I love the Rocketeer.
Skyler goes, my number five is The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
But I love this one. It's Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, a handful of other people. Like there are some big names in this, and I think they all like take it seriously enough that they put in a good performance, but still have a lot of fun with it. It's very, very, very fun. It's kind of
Yeah.
like imagine a more pulpy version of Indiana Jones, and I guess that's
Sure,
kind
of
of where we
course.
land.
Yeah.
Like if Indiana Jones was less about like I don't know judo Christianity having reality in our world because like
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
he's like finding the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. If
Mhm.
instead of that it was like we're gonna do like goofy sci-fi stuff but in sort of a similar setting, that's where we end
Yeah.
up. And I love it. It's my number five.
Very much the same vein of like a B sci-fi serial, like how George Lucas was like, we're gonna make Indiana Jones 4 and he's gonna fight aliens just like the B sci-fi serials, and but
Yeah.
this one is like kind of that almost modernized for the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I've made you watch this at some point.
You say that, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
I think you've just seen so many
Like
movies that this one has been pushed out.
that's possible,
I
but
actually made a bet with friend of the show, Brar, to watch it, and I never heard back about whether he did. Maybe I'll message
I
him
don't I
and
don't
see
think he did.
if he got
I
around
don't
to
think
it.
he did.
I will blow up his spot as soon as we're done
Wait, I could
recording
check.
this.
I could check on his letterbox, but I'm not going to. I'll save that for a different time.
Gotcha, gotcha. What's your number five?
All right. So I am going to forego the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What I did is I picked five, and I was like, okay, well, I can't really pick my favorite because how do I do that? So instead, I just like chose here's an action movie I really love, here's a horror movie I really love, here's a
Yeah.
comedy movie I really love, etc., etc. Five different things. So I'm going to start with the horror, because I'm a big horror guy, and this one might be very obvious. It's The Shining. Stanley
Uh,
Kubrick's The Shining. One of my favoriteest movies of all time. Just everything from the direction, the scenery, the Jack Nicholson, his performance, Shelley Duvall even. J- everything about this movie is just like encapsulating to me. Like I go into a trance when I watch it.
Yeah, I think that I mean, I am a little sort of blown out of the water here because I was like, here's this goofy movie that I like, and you're like, here's this one that could be in the Criterion Collection.
Man, you said favorites. So I don't know.
Here's this one in the Criterion closet. But it's yeah, I mean, it's a classic for a reason. Like it's a really good movie. I
Yeah,
only saw it like once in a million years ago, so I don't super remember like the plot of it, other than he's like trying to write a book and then
I've
loses
seen
his
it.
mind.
I've seen it many times.
So
Yeah, the I've also read the book, and famously Stephen King didn't like this movie because he there were certain changes made for the movie from the book. But like that trips me up because I don't think the changes made enough to warrant. I mean, there's certain characters that make it out in the book but don't in the movie. So I guess if he really didn't like that, but then I don't know. I think the changes in the movie just work. I don't want to say better because I like the book as well. It's weird. It's iffy. I don't really understand that feud, nor do I know if that feud still exists. It's been a very, very long time. And Kubrick's dead, anyways. So whatever. But I love this movie.
very nice, very nice. My number four is also maybe sort of more of a niche one, but I feel like it falls into a category that a lot of people would have on their top list, and that is a Ghibli movie. I love the Miyazaki Studio Ghibli movies. I think there's a lot of them that are really good, and there's probably genuinely ones that are better than the one that I'm going to list as my favorite in terms of like their impact and what they did. Like
Yeah.
this is not Spirited Away, which has probably the most critically acclaimed one. This isn't, you know, there's a lot of them that I love. Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, The Wind Rises. There's a ton of them that are like phenomenal and have really great messages. But the one that I always loved the most as a kid and that I wanted to watch the most was called Castle in the Sky.
Okay.
So Castle in the Sky is, I think, sort of like in most people's rankings, it's sort of like a tier below, specifically Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away. Those are like the big
Sure.
two.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. They are.
But this is the one that I feel like really had me the most excited. It's about a castle in the sky. It is a floating castle called Laputa, which is a like the last remnants of this ancient civilization that sort of burnt itself out, and it's like this not different race but maybe different nationality of people in this world sort of like built and built and built and became so powerful and so capable of like harnessing technology that they eventually just like left the earth and created these floating islands that they lived on instead. And so many years have passed in between then and now that no one knows what happened to them, right? Those people left and we never saw them again, and it has been so long that they have stopped being history and started being legends. And all of a sudden this girl falls from the sky with a crystal necklace that like protects her as she's falling. It like stops her from, you know, splatting into the ground like a pancake. And it sort of reignites this search for this lost civilization. And I think it's really exciting. It has like sky pirates and ancient robots and like this really great just like mythos of what happened to these people and what this world is, and like it had like are we going to learn from our past, or are we going to repeat it? Like what are we going to do with this incredible technology that is years and years and years beyond the technology that we have now? And then there's also this side aspect of it where the main villain, whose name I don't remember, but I think he's supposed to be like a sort of a stand-in for like a fascist or something, because his whole thing is that he's like part of the bloodline of people who used to run the like Laputa. And so he's like, I need to find it. It is my birthright. It is mine. I own it. It is mine. And it's this push and pull of like, he might be the last survivor of this civilization. Like, does that mean that he does have some kind of right to this? But then also like, but what is he going to do with it? And like, is it better to leave the past in the past? And like all this, it's a really interesting story and a really interesting universe. And I enjoyed it a lot as a kid. I think it's a very just imaginative world that I liked looking into for a little while.
Can't go wrong with Ghibli.
No, there's so many good ones.
My cat's name is Gigi.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. What is your number 4?
My next one, I'm going to say what I believe is my favorite musical of all time. I think.
Cats 2013. Or whatever year that movie
Well,
came out.
first of all, I think that was 2018.
Yeah.
But no, definitely not that.
Cats, the one with Jason Derulo's butthole.
No, they CGI'd out all the buttholes. It's Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh. I mean, I guess. Not enough cats in it, in my opinion, but that's fine.
Little Shop of Horrors, directed by Frank Oz. Man, this is just like, to me, it is the ultimate translation of like a stage play to a film. Because if my memory serves, Little Shop of Horrors was originally a Roger Corman movie that they turned into a an off-Broadway musical. And then this is the film version of the off-Broadway musical. I could be completely wrong about all that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And man, everything about it, the sets are magical. The music is magical. Rick Moranis, the puppets, man, I love a good puppet, and this movie's got, I think, one of the ultimate big puppets. Which makes sense, being directed by Frank Oz, who famously portrayed Yoda and Miss Piggy, so he knows a puppet or two.
And the
So
Wizard of Oz. He's the man behind the curtain.
they call him the Wizard of Frank. No, I
The
don't know.
Wizard of Frank.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. The point is, if you like musicals, or even if you think you don't like musicals, watch Little Shop of Horrors. It's fantastic.
Mm. Have you ever seen the Broadway play of it at all?
I've not seen it on stage. I know that you saw a version of it
I saw a high school version
that
of
you
it.
really liked. That's
The high school version was still really good, which is crazy to say.
right.
But I really enjoyed it. If the high school version is good, the
Yeah,
actual
there you
version
go.
must be like a real experience. So
There you go.
here's hoping.
Good
Here's
stuff.
hoping. Next time it's in town, I will think about buying a ticket and then probably not.
Yeah, that's true. That's what happens.
Yeah, that is the way of it. For me, my number 3, I knew I needed like a superhero movie in here somewhere. There are so many like really good ones that I feel sort of defined my childhood in a way, and I kept like trying to think of like what are my favorite ones, and I was like, do I do Endgame? Because Endgame obviously was like one of the biggest cultural moments of our lifetime. It was this
Yeah.
huge moment of like shared consciousness. Everyone knew what was going on. Everyone was going to the theater. Everyone was experiencing this thing together.
It was so good it almost killed the genre.
It almost
It
killed
might
the
have
genre.
killed the
It might
genre.
have, it might have killed the genre.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I don't think that one's going to be. And then I was like, well, what about Captain America: The First Avenger? Because I love that movie. I think that's my favorite of the Marvel movies for sure. I think that it like
Hey,
most
hey.
perfectly encapsulates like the meaning of being a superhero in this like hopeful world.
Directed by Joe Johnston, who also directed The Rocketeer.
Oh my god, I gotta watch The Rocketeer.
Yeah.
So yeah, so love that one too. But the one I ended up going with is very different tonally from that. I went with The Batman, Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Very good movie.
I love this movie. Is it like for me the definitive version of Batman? I don't think so. I think for me that's always going to be the animated series Batman or like the Arkham
Yeah.
series version of Batman.
We've
I feel like
we've
that.
reached a point. We've reached a point in Batman's mythos and the amount of portrayals. Like, I don't know if you can even say if there's a definitive version.
You
Like, there's
can't.
the one that rings closest to the what you like, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah, there's been so much.
it's. I guess definitive is maybe the wrong word. It's like.
Sure.
It's like, what is the Batman for me? And I still think for me, I'm more the animated series Batman and the Arkham series Batman, which for me are the same
Yeah.
guy. I mean, they're both Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy. Yeah,
is
yeah.
I think that like that's my Batman, and like I don't know, I don't suspect James Gunn's going to change that, but I'm excited to see him try. So like we'll see what happens there. But the Batman, I think, is cinematically, in terms of direction, in terms of acting, I think quite possibly the best superhero movie ever. And I don't know. I'm sure that there's tons of people who would fight me on that.
It's
And I
up
welcome
there, I
the
think.
argument. But It's the way it is shot, the score of it. I mean, I can still hear
Absolutely.
the is it the Batman theme or whatever, the boom
Yeah.
boom boom. Like I can hear that in
Yeah,
my
that's more or
brain
less.
currently right now. I hear it at some point every day, it feels like. Um because I'm edgy. The way it's shot is great, the acting is great. Robert Pattinson in it I think is phenomenal. I think they do a really good job of making it feel like it takes place in a realistic world without making it feel like, I don't know, like it's embarrassed to be a comic book world, which is to me sort of what, not all of the Dark Knight series, but a little bit of the Dark Knight series felt like that to me, specifically with like the third one, like with Rises.
I
Um,
can kind of see what you're saying. Yeah.
this one feels like it's like we're going for a darker, grittier, realer world, but we're doing that like with very much more like intention. And this
There was
is,
a
yeah,
lot of style. A lot
yes,
of style
yeah,
to compensate for, like, yeah, we're grounding it in a realistic thing, but like the city also doesn't look like a real city,
no,
kind of.
it's
It's
always
very, it has
raining.
such a personality to it. I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and my absolute favorite part of this movie, which is maybe crazy because I think it's literally like one of the opening shots, is I love the opening bit where the bat signal's in the air
Uh-huh.
and or in the sky, whatever you want it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's projecting into the clouds, and the whole thing is like that is there because I can't be everywhere. Like
The
this is a warning to them. It makes people like think twice and look at the shadows and be
the
afraid of like. And the whole story is about like I can't just be vengeance. I need to be hope. And I think that that's a great message for like specifically a year one Batman, which is what this is. It's not like exactly the year one comic, but there's obviously a lot of
right.
inspiration there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they do it phenomenally. I love it. I'm so excited to see what Matt Reeves does with the Batman 2, if that ever comes out. I think it's been delayed like 45 times, it feels like. Maybe we'll get it when I'm 40, but I will be here for it. The Penguin Show, also phenomenal. I think that this, what does he
Penguin
call
should
it?
be
The
good.
like ultra crime something universe or something
I
stupid
don't
like
know.
that. I'm excited for any properties inside this at this point.
It's called Dirty Batman.
The Dirty Batman.
It's the Dirty Batman saga.
I I love it. I think it's phenomenal. It may literally be the best superhero movie ever made. And I would hear arguments against it, but I don't think I would be moved off that position.
I don't know. I mean, the Eternals.
Don't come at me. Don't. We'll do worse
All
movies
right.
some other time.
All right. Well, for my next one, I think I'm going to say my favorite comedy, and I'm pretty sure that this one actually is my favorite comedy of all time, ever since I was a child.
Yeah.
I love many films directed and written by Mel Brooks,
Ooh.
and Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein, I think, is just it, straight to my funny bone. I don't know what it is. I think I first saw Young Frankenstein when I was like 4 years old. Like a very much just like a, hey, this is, we're putting this on, family. I'm sitting there and I was just like, okay, this is what humor is. I'm going to build my life on this now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and Gene Wilder was such a magical man. Obviously, in love him in Willy Wonka. I love him in all the Mel Brooks stuff that he's been in. But Young Frankenstein, I think, is him at his A game. It's his funniest.
Yeah.
I don't
See,
know what else to say.
I love his movies. Young
Yeah.
Frankenstein I haven't actually seen, but I
Mm.
love Mel Brooks in like Spaceballs. I love him in
Yeah.
History of the World Part 1, which is apparently getting a sequel, although I don't necessarily think I care.
I think it got a show.
Oh, show, is
It,
that
it,
what the sequel
there was
was? Because they
there
were going
was
to do
a
a part
yeah.
2 like finally. No, I say
Well, because
finally, but the part 2 was a
the
joke that they were never going to
yeah,
actually follow up on.
yes, it was a joke, and then I won't say they ruined the joke by making part two a show, but they did
Yeah.
do that. I don't know if it was good. I know it had a lot of people in it, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, Young Frankenstein. I don't know if it's considered by Mel Brooks fans to be the best one. I have seen, I think, all of his movies. I've got a big collection. Um, but to me, I think Mel Brooks said it's his favorite. I think he did.
I can
I'm
see
not
that.
misremembering that quote, but it's not just that it's very funny because the entire thing is not just like a parody on Frankenstein in the sense that like he's like, he makes a Frankenstein's monster, but it follows the story of basically both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. Like it just
Oh,
repeats a lot of the same gags, but with comedy twist. It's like the ultimate parody, but there's such respect and understanding of those original Universal horror monster movies
yeah.
that I'm like, oh man, this hits it all. I love it. He
I,
put a lot of craft into it, I guess is
yeah.
why it captures me.
I'll have to go and watch that because I have at least liked every other Mel Brooks movie that I've seen.
Yeah.
So I mean, Blazing Saddles was like it was a one that me and my family watched multiple times growing up.
Yeah.
Like I can quote that movie
Ooh, don't quote it.
from so well. There's the quote you're talking about. They never even actually say it because the bell's ringing. They never even actually say the bad word.
There's the old lady. She says,
Uh,
"Morning, ma'am. Been a lovely morning." And then she says, "Yes, it is, kind sir." And she walks away.
right. She says, "I'm off to church, my good fellow."
No, Blazing Saddles is great too.
It's
But
great.
Young Frankenstein.
Steady as a rock. What's wrong with it? I shoot with this hand.
Yeah, that's good.
He's a
Good
fun
bits.
guy. I
He
love
does
those movies.
repeat a lot of bits in throughout his movies.
Oh,
There's a lot
sure.
of things he steals from himself, but that's just because, like, hey, if it was funny then, it's funny now.
Yeah, yeah. I think I like am a little mad that I didn't even think of Mel Brooks when I was making this list because there's definitely a ton of really good movies.
Mhm.
But my number two, as I knew that there were, I knew this category I knew had to be on here at some point because again, it's like my favorite movies and the ones that like were the most impactful to me, and so I knew that there had to be like a Disney movie on here because
Okay.
there's so much of like specifically my upbringing that is like focused around Disney movies, and I really wanted to do Atlantis or like Treasure Planet, sort of the forgotten ones,
Oh,
because I
I
love
thought
those movies.
I thought you were
Um,
gonna say one of those.
no, and I love those movies. I think those are some of my favorite movies, but I feel like it would be disingenuous for me to not say Hercules, so I have to say Hercules.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Hercules is very good. I just want to put on record though, Atlantis: The Lost Empire is, if not on lists, it's the definitive honorable mention
Yeah,
of
for both of us.
this because that is important.
Atlantis
It's
and Treasure
important to
Planet
me.
are the goats. We love them. But I feel like it would be disingenuous for me to not say Hercules because that was the one that I watched a million times as a kid. I destroyed that tape watching it over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like everyone in like our generation, our age group, has that movie. And usually for people, it's a Disney movie.
Hmm. Yeah, I think
I
so.
don't know. What was it for you? Shrek?
Hey, come on now. I like Shrek.
Hey, how's it going?
Trying to think, what tape did I destroy watching? Well, I had a lot of Pokemon tapes as a kid.
Had being the operative word?
I'm sure I still have them, although I don't know if they've survived storage. I'm not properly storing all these VHS tapes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
Oh, that's another one I should have thought about is Pokemon the movie 2000. That was a big movie for me.
oh yeah, the girl plays the flute ocarina. What's she
It
playing?
looked like an ocarina. I don't know if they
She's
call
playing
it
an
that.
ocarina. I remember the little tune.
Yeah.
Do 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 do. I remember it.
Yeah.
Well, now we're just talking.
That's fine.
I think actually the tape that I watched the most that it broke was wasn't even a movie. It was a special. It was the Batman and Superman crossover from the cartoons that was like 5 or so episodes just
Uh,
edited together,
yeah.
and I watched that all the time.
That makes sense. For me, obviously, yeah, it was Hercules. I think I could not tell you if this is like the best Disney movie, and I truly don't care. I think it has one of the best soundtracks of any Disney movie.
Mm.
Like Go the Distance, I think is phenomenal.
Oh, 100%.
I Won't Say I'm in Love, so good. Like there's so many just like immediately iconic songs in Hercules alone, and obviously like in this time period Disney movies had a ton of songs that people just like like attached to so powerfully. But
Yeah.
for me, those songs came from Hercules, and I really loved the whole. And maybe I don't even think I like really clocked it as a kid, but I really loved the idea of this guy who is sort of like stuck between two worlds because he's a demigod, he's half god, half human, and he doesn't really fit into either, and he has to like find his place, and so he ends up like teaming up with all these misfits. Like he hangs out with Danny DeVito, who is Phil, and then this horse with wings. It's like the only one of its kind, and like this like island of misfit toys. Even Meg, to an extent, is like, I mean, she's a pretty gal, but she's also working with Satan, Hades.
Yeah.
So it's like it's this really.
She won't say she's in love.
She won't say she's in love, but she is, and she's my
Yeah.
Disney princess. And if any, and I'm sorry, the Comic-Con doesn't allow her to think she is, but she is. She's a Disney princess, and I will stand her until the day I die.
Yeah, we stand Meg. Yeah, Hercules, obviously one of the great. It was right in like the heart of the Disney Renaissance era.
Yeah,
Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I feel like Hunchback is like a little before that.
It's in the. I've got the list right here.
I couldn't tell you the time period, but that one feels like, because we had that as a kid too. But I don't think me or my sisters, like, I don't think any of us really like attached to Hunchback, because I was big Hercules. My sister Chelsea was huge on Little Mermaid. I actually don't know which one Emily was big on. For some reason, I want to say Beauty and the Beast, but I don't even know if that's true.
Did she like Pocahontas?
We had Pocahontas. Pocahontas was relatively big in our house, but I don't think it was her favorite.
Did she like? Well, everyone loves Mulan.
Yeah. I think I was probably the bigger Mulan fan in our family.
And the Renaissance ends with Tarzan.
Tarzan also great.
Yeah, good stuff.
So many good ones in there.
Good,
But yeah,
good music in all of these.
love Hercules. He's my guy.
What about Rescuers Down Under? That's technically in the Disney Renaissance.
No,
Come on.
I saw it as a kid and I was like, wow. Anyway, like I have nothing against it. I just have like no memory of it really.
It is one of the most beautifully animated, blandest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. There's that bit where the lizard eats the eggs. I remember that.
Yeah.
What's her name? Sheila? Something like that?
I'm sure it was Sheila. They were down under.
They were down under. Skyler, what's your number 2?
That's a good question. My number 2.
Still writing the list as we go.
No. I'm going to say what I believe is my favorite action adventure movie of all time. And yeah, it could be
Raiders of the
considered
Lost Ark.
sci-fi.
Oh, never mind.
It could be considered sci-fi, but it's I'm going to say I want you to know that the one that I'm saving for last is in case you say something similar.
Okay.
So I've got backups if need be, but so
okay. I look forward to stealing your number 1.
Yeah, please do.
You bitch.
Action adventure, Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, baby.
Come on,
Clever
man.
girl.
I refuse to say more. Move on.
It's a really good one. And it's it's a shame that there were never any other Jurassic Park movies ever made. Like, it's crazy how there was just the one and then there were no more ones.
What about Jurassic Park 3?
What about Jurassic Park 3?
Directed by
The
Joe
guy.
Johnston, the director of The Rocketeer.
Oh my god, of course it was.
It all comes back.
3
That's the theme.
3's the Spinosaurus one, right? Or is 2 the
Yeah, it
Spinosaurus
is.
one? That one's also
3's the
good.
best one.
2 is
It's
kind
fun.
of whatever.
I like 3 because it kind of incorporates some stuff from the first book that didn't make it into the first
Right.
movie.
That's what people are saying
Like,
about this new
specifically-
one that's coming out, apparently.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess we'll see.
You're allowed to admit that you're secretly really excited for it.
I'm secretly really excited to die. Anyways,
Yeah.
no, Jurassic Park. It's one of those movies that as a kid, like, I watched it and then I went to all the bonus features on the DVD and watched like the making of and the commentaries and all that stuff, and then I watched it again. I don't know. There was a period of me growing up where I was obsessed with Jurassic Park. And it's interesting that I chose this Spielberg movie to go on my list because whenever asked like, "Oh, what's your favorite movie of all time?" and if I have to give an answer, my answer is always Jaws. I do think that Jaws is like my gun to my head. I have to say something. I'm gonna say Jaws because I love that movie.
Uh-huh.
But for this list,
So that's your number 1.
no, it's not. That's just a bonus. I have no number 1. I have 5,000 number 2s.
That's fair.
No, just the stuff, the technology, the performances, the sets. Like you look at Jurassic Park and you're like, I want to go there, and then you see people get eaten and you're like, you know what? I'll still go. And who doesn't like dinosaurs? I know that some people like dinosaurs more than others,
Yeah, but those
but
people
I
are
think everyone
freaks and
everyone
crabs.
likes. There might be a crab or two out there,
There's
but
a
I
crab
don't.
out there. She's listening, and I know she's offended.
Don't be offended. Dinosaurs are cool, crab.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I also love Jurassic Park. I think it is one of the best movies ever made for sure. I don't have the attachment to it that I think a lot of people do because I didn't really watch it much as a kid. I saw it like once in my friend Graham's basement, and it was like, this is really good. And I went and, like, I don't know, played Pokemon or something instead. But
Let me
it's
tell you.
a phenomenal movie.
Let me tell you. I've got a connection to this movie, and I got a connection to the sequel, which I don't even really like that
Right.
much, because the sequel that ends where the T-Rex is taken to San Diego,
Uh-oh, and it eats that
and I
dog,
was
and you're like, it ate
and I
my
was
dog.
yeah, no kidding, it eats that dog, and I'm like, I have to. My dogs can't stay out at night because the T-Rex is gonna eat them. I was like that. I was like, I'm not taking that risk.
You would. I'd fully buy that.
I still do that.
That's absolutely. The T-Rex is going to get you.
The T-Rex.
Get in here, Aurora.
Wally, get in.
Jesus.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. My number one, it is also probably on your list. I think you know which one it is. But I'm gonna steal it from you because I hate you, loser.
I don't even know if you're right. Let's see.
I know that it's somewhere on your list. It might be in top 15, top 20, but I know it's in there.
I know you, and I feel like I can feel it coming. But if maybe I'll be surprised.
Ba-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba. Lord of the Rings
Can I tell you?
is Return of the King,
Can I tell you?
bitch. Yeah.
Can I tell you?
Will
I'm
you-
not surprised.
No, of course not. Because Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings as a franchise, was my personality for like 15 years, and it's still in there. It's still in there. It's not coming out. That shit's stained.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not moving. I don't want it to move. I love the Lord of the Rings franchise. I think Return of the King is the best one, which is crazy because it's the last one. I think
Yeah.
they're all great, except the Hobbit ones, but we don't really talk about those. The first Hobbit movie's all right. I enjoyed that one well enough. Anyway, this is like the fantasy movie that has the most acclaim in the universe. It won like 4 billion Oscars that one year. So I feel like I don't really need to defend this movie as like I know it's nerd stuff, but I love it because like it is that guy. It is him.
Yeah.
So, but it's just like this is the culmination of such a phenomenal story. I think it is the ending of the singular best trilogy in cinematic history. It has so many great moments from like I am no man to like the army of the dead to that still only counts as one. Like
Do you cry at my friends? You bow to no one.
I don't cry at it, but it makes me happy.
And I well a tear. I'm welling a tear right now just thinking about it.
No, that one doesn't get me. But I do have like a visceral, like physical reaction to.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you describe it. I'm sure it has like an official term, but like Theoden's speech right before the Ride of the Rohirrim. It is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's running down and he's smacking all the spears with his sword, and you're like, you're gonna break one of those spears. I know you're gonna break one of those spears. You're gonna cut one right in half somehow. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but you're gonna do it. And they just rush in, and the orcs are like, we got these big spears. These horses ain't gonna be able to do nothing, and they don't give a shit. They are riding fast and hard. It is so good, so good. Obviously, like if I have to specify, like I'll go for the extended edition or whatever, the director's cut, whatever you want to call that version.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the
the
definitive
thing.
version for all three at this point. And like as a big dumb sweaty nerd, like you should just
Yeah.
assume that that's the one I'm talking about. But in case you weren't, that is the one I'm talking about.
Whenever I rewatch Lord of the Rings at this point in my life, I'm like, I have to watch the extendeds.
Yeah,
That's just the complete story, and
Yeah.
I understand where you're telling because we have a friend or two, one that I'm thinking of, that has like never seen Lord of the Rings, and they're always
I
like,
don't
"Oh,
know which
maybe
of
I
our
should-"
friends you're talking about.
I'm not gonna out them here,
Dox
but
them. Dox them.
We're-
Give me their address, their whole social.
Well, let me tell you, he would not be interested at all in watching a 4-hour movie. or 3.5 hours, whatever it is.
That's fair.
And so it's always hard to say like, hey, watch the longer one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
So
the shorter version's still really great. It's
no,
not like
yeah,
there's
no.
nothing
If
wrong
you
with
gotta
it.
if you gotta get someone in the door, show them the original one,
Yeah.
and then just be like, just so you know, it gets better.
Just there's more of this. Did you
If you
like
put
this? What
if
if
you
I told
put
you more?
you put bacon on this burger
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and cheese,
Hell
it
yeah.
tastes better.
Ugh.
Okay, now here's the thing. I said before we were recording, like, do I get political?
Okay.
And
How does Lord of the Rings
now
fit into that?
now's the point where I'm about to get
With
political.
Lord
You
of the
ready?
Rings?
With Lord of the Rings.
Oh no.
So the number one spot that I was saving in case you said it
Uh-huh.
was a Lord of the Rings film.
Okay. All right.
It's not Return of the King.
No, and I think that that's fair. They're all so good, and I understand all the arguments for everybody's
Yeah.
like different opinions on this one. I think that Fellowship is phenomenal. Like, probably does the best job of like establishing a world. I think that's really
Yeah.
great. Helm's Deep alone makes Two Towers like worthy of being on this list.
100%.
But
yeah.
for me, it's like it is Return of the King.
No, Return of the King. There really is no wrong answer in this trilogy.
I agree.
I just happen to come out liking Fellowship the most. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
I don't think so. I mean, it's the first one, right? So it's probably the one that
Yeah.
most people have seen the most, because I would imagine that a lot of people are like, I'm gonna rewatch the
They-
whole series, and they don't
yeah,
finish
then
it.
they fall asleep after the first ones.
Yeah, so it's probably the one that they
because
see
it's
the
like
most.
it's a whole day affair.
There's so
Yeah.
much in Fellowship that's also great, but I feel like for me, it's a lot of build up to what will be paid off in Return of the King, and I don't know, the way that Fellowship ends, because it is just part one of a 3-part story, feels like dissatisfying as its own like standalone thing to me.
Sure, yeah.
But it's still great. Like, I obviously love it so much.
I think I get such a second wind when they leave Rivendell as the Fellowship, and I'm just like, oh, look at my boys, you know?
That's true. Yeah, that is the only movie where the Fellowship of the Ring exists as
Yeah.
a fellowship. They split up like immediately, to the point where
they-
in Return of the King, it's like, does Frodo know Legolas's name?
He
Does
knows
he?
him.
I don't. He might not. He might not. In those movies,
he
he
knows
never
his
says
name.
it. That's the joke.
Uh,
He comes into the
yeah,
room at the end, and he's
he
like,
does. He does. He says,
"You."
Gimli, and he just smiles at the elf. He's like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, that guy. All right, I get you.
He's like, I saw you in the Midsummer Murders, my guy. I know that you ain't right.
I saw you. You're a pirate.
You're a pirate. But no, it's Return of the King is like a hugely influential movie on me and my life. I think it might be the only one of them that I saw in theaters. I don't remember for sure. It's the only one I have a memory of seeing in theaters. But
yeah.
what a movie. What a time to be alive. I know that the big argument against it is like, oh, but it has like 5 endings, and that's true.
Sure.
That is true. The ending is very long and drawn out. But at that point, I've watched like 9 hour of movie, and I don't know. I feel like it earns it.
It's I don't know. I think it's at the same time it's a valid complaint. Like,
Yeah.
oh, the movie just doesn't end. It keeps going and going. But also like it's an epic.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
And like, maybe I don't want it to
warrants
end,
that many
sir.
endings. Yeah, that's life, man. I don't know.
I'm so
I don't
mad
know.
that like we have gotten so little good Lord of the Rings content post the original trilogy.
What do you talk about? We had the Battle of the Five Armies.
Uh-huh.
That guy was like putting gold in his bosom. I don't know.
Yeah. The first of the Hobbit movies isn't terrible. The other two are. And I
They-
love the Rings of Power TV show, even though apparently that's a hot take for some reason, but I think it's really good.
I still haven't watched it.
It's so good. It's so good.
But you know what? We're getting more and more Lord of the Rings content. We're getting the hunt for Gollum or something.
Yeah, I don't know what
And
the
we're-
love for Gollum is. Like, I
we're
don't dislike
getting-
him, but he's like maybe my 20th favorite Lord of the Rings character.
Did you watch War of the Rohirrim?
I actually didn't. I
That's-
wanted to, and I just never did. So I guess it'll come to some streaming thing eventually, and then I'll
I think
watch
I think it's on Max now. If you have that,
it. I may watch it
um,
tomorrow then.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I know it's a bit. It doesn't ring exactly the same, but I like it. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's a really, really cool part that I think you'll like near the middle-ish end, I guess.
I look forward to screaming so loud that my neighbors call the police.
Yeah, do it. Well, I have to add another one from my number 5 because you took Lord of the Rings. Um, Mad Max Fury Road.
Why do you not sound confident in that?
Uh, it was a trick to get you to ask me something so I could just keep listing movies.
Oh,
Nightmare Before Christmas,
no, you don't even like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Rocky 1,
No, you hate sports.
Terminator 2,
I don't trust AI.
Empire Strikes Back,
No, you're just listing movies.
Saving Private Ryan,
If you like all these movies so much, why weren't they on your list?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Cause you said 5.
What's your number one?
Um, I'm gonna say Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I had it. We were going by categories, and I was like, last one's fantasy. I was like, oh wait, what if he says it? Turns out I should have just said it first. I should have said, "Fuck
Coward.
you,"
Yeah, coward.
and just taken it.
Bet you wouldn't.
But so yeah, instead we're going to slide Jurassic Park to the sci-fi category, which I said I wouldn't do, and we're gonna put Mad Max in action adventure. Fury Road is so high octane, awesome. I love it. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen Fury Road, go see Fury Road. Go see all these movies we've mentioned.
Yeah. If you don't like Fury Road, then you have bad taste. Like, I'm willing to say that.
Oh yeah,
Like, the people,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who are like, it's just a car chase. They just go one place and then they turn around and they come back. And it's like, that's
Yeah.
true, but you're kind of missing the point of how awesome it is.
yeah, it's a car chase.
Like, does it have the best plot in the world? No. Like, I feel like objectively, no. This is a movie for cinematography. It's for
It's-
cinephiles.
It's yeah. So plot. It's very much not to do another Lord of the Rings pun, but it's very much there and back again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also the world and the humans in this world, and we're seeing them go through it. Like that's the hook. That's the draw. Like you have to empathize with these women and what they're going through.
These women with
Which
the
I-
stupidest names.
Yeah, that's not their fault. And I don't even mean it's a post-apocalyptic thing. It's they're Australian, Daniel.
Yeah, that's true. People are named. God, what is it like? Milk? Isn't there one called Milk? One of them has like a food name.
Okay, so you're taking out Lord of the Rings, and for your number one, you're putting in Milk, the movie about Harvey Milk.
No,
That's what you're saying.
I haven't even seen that movie, but apparently it's good. I mean, it won a lot of awards, so
Sean Penn.
I'm gonna look up these dumb names while you continue talking, and I will find them because I know they had some dumb ones in there.
There's one called Splendid.
Zoe Kravitz's character was called Toast.
See, they don't even say that. I don't think. There's one called The Dag.
Her name was Toast the Knowing.
She knew. She knew all right.
She did. Cheeto the Fragile. The Dag. Capable. These women had some
Capable,
some real goofball names.
Capable's a good name. I like that.
It's a good word. I don't know if it's a good name.
No. I'm gonna next cat I get, I'm gonna name Capable.
Okay. Hell yeah, brother. But no, I love this movie. I still haven't seen Furiosa, but I hear it's also very good.
It is.
So
It is
is it
very
as
good.
good?
I don't think it quite hits the mark, but it's still very good, like very good. So
Fair.
I think I don't really struggle to say that I like Fury Road more. So no, but
Yeah. I think
still up
Fury
there.
Road is it's one of those movies where like just purely the visuals of it do such heavy lifting for what the movie is,
Mhm.
and it doesn't try to be too much more than that. Because I feel like another movie that is very similar to in that way is Blade Runner 2047, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, 2049.
2049. And I don't like that movie because I
Oh,
feel
you don't like that one?
No, because it's gorgeous. Obviously, like it's shot super well, but I feel like it tries to tell this like strong, impactful story and misses the mark so hard on what it's trying to say that it like drags it down for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, cinematography, like the visuals of it are gorgeous. Obviously, I don't think there's any you can't argue. Well, maybe except that one scene that's like so dark you can't see it, where it's like out in the rain and there's the car like by the beach crashed or whatever.
Yeah, well, to balance out if we've angered any Blade Runner fans, 2049 fans, just
Yeah.
know that I think I like 2049 better than the original Blade Runner. Oh, but now we've just angered all the Blade Runner fans.
It's okay.
Oh God,
All right, they're coming
this
for
is
you.
a nightmare.
They're gonna send
This
the
is a
bots after
nightmare.
you.
I don't know what to say.
Man, oh man, oh man. Well, if you're listening to this and you want to send the Blade Runners after us, you can find us on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Daniel J. McG. You can follow the show on Twitter at RSR_POD.
And you can follow me on Just Blue Sky at Skyler 8-bit.
Thank you much for joining us. Let us know what your favorite movies are in the comments, either on Spotify or YouTube, because the engagement is really helpful for us. So if you're one of my friends who has been listening to this and texting me instead of leaving a comment, I appreciate it and I love you. But please instead leave a
I
comment.
don't appreciate that. Leave the comment. What are you doing?
We need the engagement. It really helps us grow. But I love
Come on.
you. Thank you.
Come on,
And
man.
until next time, we'll see you around.
Game's just starting, the world's so bright. Jump right in, everything feels right. Let's play, take a trip